July 2013, a middle-aged man named Frank pulled into a small town in Nevada called Kingston. Frank, who runs the YouTube channel Exploring Abandoned Mines and Unusual Places, had his sights set on exploring the Horton mine. What he didn't know was that this trip would turn into one of the most disturbing moments of his life.
I forget what this was called, this particular mine entrance here, but this one's got a little bit of water in it coming out of it. Not much.
Upon arriving at the Horton mine, he expressed concern about the water flowing outward from the tunnel, noting that it appeared stagnant and could potentially harbor harmful chemicals. Additionally, he spotted several footprints, suggesting that others had recently visited this eerie location.
Yeah, water in a mine. I do see other footprints here in the mud, but I just don't think it's wise to go in here when there's water. Try to avoid this if I can. I'm gonna have to step across here. Let me turn my light on.
As Frank went deeper inside the tunnel, he started freaking out, saying this was the creepiest tunnel he had ever been in. At one point, he turned his flashlight on and aimed it toward the other side of the mine. What he saw was the most disturbing thing you could imagine.
This is one of the creepiest mine tunnels I've ever been in, just because of how dilapidated it is and all these chains hanging down from the overhead, and there's a shot looking down the tunnel even further, but still pretty wet. I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there. Don't know if you can see that in the video or not. Yeah, this mine definitely has a very spooky vibe to it. So I'm going to head back out and check out the other stuff that's here. This is just too wet and too muddy. And obviously something is making the chains swing. So time to get the hell out of here.
He saw a chain swinging on its own, and that left him completely speechless. Now, what you're looking at here are dozens of chains hanging from the ceiling, left over from when this mine was still active. These chains were used to hold up conveyor belts, but seeing one of them moving by itself in the still abandoned mine was enough to make Frank turn back immediately and head for the exit. After the video went up, a bunch of people started debating what really happened. Some of them were convinced Frank swung the chain himself just to hype up his content. Others weren't buying that theory at all, saying the footage looked way too real. Frank even addressed it, saying, "I was just recording my usual exploration and this happened." He left it up to you to decide what you believe. And honestly, I think it's legit. I mean, this guy had already uploaded hundreds of videos just exploring mines. No ghost hunting, no paranormal claims. So why would he randomly fake something now? In November 2024, a TikTok user named Sansei Shuri International uploaded a video of himself boating on a nearby river close to his hometown. At first, everything seemed normal, just another peaceful ride on the water. But then, he noticed something strange. Right there, partially submerged in the river, was an SUV. He slowly approached it but didn't stop for too long. Instead, he just crossed past the vehicle, filming as he went. Now, here's where things get even more unsettling. After the video was posted, some viewers claimed they could hear a kid's voice coming from inside the car.
Completely fully submerged. It honestly looks like a Kia Soul. Can you guys see that?
Dad, pay attention.
As soon as he spotted the SUV in the river, he immediately contacted local authorities. While crossing past the vehicle, if you pay close attention at one point in the video, you can hear what sounds like a kid's voice saying, "Dad, pay attention, listen to the..." Though the audio is unclear and hard to make out. After police arrived, Alachua deputies launched an investigation which eventually led to a shocking discovery. The SUV had been stolen in Colombia. How it ended up in that river and whether the mysterious voice was real or just a strange audio anomaly remains unknown. Eventually, the process began to pull the SUV out of the water. However, when it was finally brought onto land, some people claimed they saw something moving inside the back seat of the car. Even though the host didn't notice anything at the time, once he uploaded the video, the comment section was flooded with people pointing it out. Many viewers speculated on what it could have been. Some believed it was just a trick of the light or debris shifting, while others were convinced that something unexplained was inside that vehicle. On August 14, 2018, a group of teenagers decided to go swimming at Moulton Falls, a popular spot in Clark County, Washington. During summer, this place is packed with people enjoying the water, jumping off cliffs, and swimming. Among the group was Jordan Holgerson, who was getting ready to jump from a bridge. She stepped over the railing, preparing herself, but as she stood there, she hesitated. The bridge was about 60 feet high, and it was clear that she was unsure about making the jump. But before she could decide for herself, one of her friends suddenly pushed her off, a moment that was caught on camera.
Ready? Oh, that's so fast.
The impact from the 60-foot fall was severe, resulting in Jordan suffering 5 broken ribs and a punctured lung. Realizing the gravity of the situation, her friends immediately contacted emergency services. Jordan was swiftly transported to the hospital, where she remained for several days due to the severity of her injuries. Fortunately, she survived the ordeal. Given that the incident was caused by her friend Taylor Smith, Jordan's family sought justice through the legal system. Smith was charged with reckless endangerment, a gross misdemeanor in Washington state. In March 2019, she pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2 days in jail, followed by 38 days on a work crew. On August of 1987, 3 backpackers set out for a hike near the woods of Tabernash, Colorado, completely unaware that they were about to stumble upon something truly horrifying. As they made their way through the dense forest, they came across the wreckage of a plane, its parts scattered everywhere, rusted and overgrown with nature. The sight alone was unsettling, but what made it even worse was what one of them noticed next: 2 skeletal remains still inside the wreckage. Shaken by the discovery, they wasted no time contacting the authorities. Soon, investigators arrived at the scene, led by Colorado Sheriff Dale Wood. As they combed through the wreckage, they came across something unusual: a VHS tape, partially intact but with sections of the film tangled in the branches nearby. Given the condition of the wreckage, it was unclear whether the tape could be salvaged, but investigators decided to restore it, hoping to uncover what had happened to the people on board. After careful work, they managed to recover enough of the footage to make it somewhat playable. What they saw was chilling: the final moments of 2 men inside the aircraft. The 2 men in the footage were identified as 38-year-old pilot James Jabe Cadell and his 36-year-old assistant, Ronald Hugh Wilmond. Both had been missing for 3 years, last seen on a mission to inspect beetle infestations in the area. As part of their work, they were required to record their entire flight, which explained the presence of the VHS tape inside the wreckage. The footage began with Jeb commenting on the overwhelming sight before him.
Oh, look at that down there, Ronnie, on the left. Nice little lake and a cabin.
As seen in the footage, the plane began to gradually descend, but what made it unsettling was that the pilot, Jeb, didn't seem to notice it at the time. With a massive hill terrain ahead, their situation was becoming more dangerous by the second. From what investigators later gathered, the descent wasn't intentional. It was likely caused by a factor neither of them had accounted for. The aircraft they were flying was a single-engine Cessna L-19 E-Bird Dog, a light observation plane not designed for high-altitude maneuvering in such conditions. At that moment, they were dealing with a phenomenon known as density altitude, a condition where the actual altitude at which the aircraft performs is much higher than what the instruments indicate. This happens due to thinner air at high elevations, making it harder for planes to generate lift. For a small plane like theirs, facing density altitude and mountainous terrain meant one thing: there was almost no way out. As you can see in the footage, the mountain was way too close, and there just wasn't enough time or space to lift the plane and escape. A single-engine plane like theirs simply didn't have the power to climb that high, especially under those conditions. Realizing this, the pilot, Jeb, made a desperate attempt to maneuver the aircraft, hoping to find a way out, but with the limited control and rapidly decreasing altitude, the situation spiraled out of control. The plane suddenly flipped mid-air, and within seconds, it crashed straight into the mountainside. The footage cuts off at that moment, marking the tragic final moments of their journey.
Damn, hang